I'm pleased to have Bill Maher back at this table. See, now, I differ with you on that. You work hard.
I do.
But it's because you love the work.
Exactly. We're very lucky to do the work they shouldn't even call it work.
Exactly.
It should only be called work if it's something you really don't want to do. And I'm sure when you were younger, you had plenty of those kind of jobs,
yes.
right? You weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Neither was I.
Right.
I worked at Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. I threw triangular pieces of fish material into boiling batter and got my arm all burned with the scalding batter.
I worked in a retail store. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I stocked the A&P.
Yeah. Tell me where your politics are today.
I think they're always where they always were. I think I'm right about everything, of course. Sometimes, I mean, I would say I mostly caucus with the liberals, shall we say, but I also upset my own liberal audience frequently. I can tell because they boo me.
I know they do.
At my own audience in L.A.
But there's a touch of libertarian in you?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there actually is a touch of libertarian in everybody. People, first of all, we were just talking about this before we went on, don't know what they are.
Exactly.
They first, I hate the word liberal around the country. They don't know that they are more progressive than they think they are.
The idea is that liberal for them, they hate the word because they think it somehow connotates soft.
Yes.
Soft.
Soft on crime, soft on war.
Right.
So, this is one thing I think. Unpatriotic, hate America first. And I think this is one problem that the president faces, is that the people are actually way more with him on policy than they know. I don't think they really want to get into another war in Iraq. But the Republicans are do something, and he'll confront them and say, "What should I be sending troops? No, not that. Then what?" And it's really they just want him to talk like John Wayne. Yeah. They just want more bluster.
And it's not in him to talk like John Wayne.
No. And I'm glad
it's not who he is, and
No, we had that for 8 years. Remember? Yes. We had President Charles in charge who was constantly talking like a cowboy, and it didn't work, and it didn't make us more popular in the world or safer.
But size him up for me. We'll come back to your politics in a moment. The president, I mean, he's going through now, facing the reality of ISIS. And when I think about that, your politics were in part defined by 9/11. You.
Well, I think I had been on the air for almost 10 years with Politically Incorrect when that happened. It certainly changed the country, changed everybody in it, changed me.
But I mean,
it forced me to change networks.
Yeah.
So it was a blessing.
Not your choice, was it?
No, but it worked out.
Yeah.
I'm glad it did. Worked out that way.
It must have been God.
If you want to get into that, sure, we can, but I'm just not going to let that float by there because we know it wasn't that. But as far as Obama goes, I think he will be treated in history very kindly.
Do you really?
Absolutely. Every president, of course, at the time, and he's dealing, obviously, with things that no other president had to ever deal with.
First the economy, and now...
Right, and he's the first black
ISIS.
President. They hate him in a way they never hated before.
How much of it you think is that?
A considerable amount. They'll never recognize it or admit it, but it is that. There is a certain in-your-face, in-your-space disrespect that this president has had to put up with, like being heckled at the State of the Union, or the governor of Arizona when she stuck her finger in his face, or when Bill O'Reilly interviews him, he interrupts him every 2 seconds. You don't do that to a president. And they just hate him from the get-go, But, okay.
Some of it is race, but not all of it's my point.
Of course, not all. Absolutely. they were awful to Clinton, too.
Right, exactly.
And he was the first black president, as we know.
Thank you, Toni Morrison.
But I do think that, history will be kind to him because, again, as you were starting to say, the economy was horrible when he took over. We were losing 750,000 jobs a month. The automobile industry, which obviously Mitt Romney and other Republicans wanted to let die on the vine. I mean, just think of the psychological effect if General Motors had gone under. Exactly. Forget the economic effect. I think that Obama's greatest quality has been calm. I think he's the calmest president we have ever had. He drives them nuts.
Yes,
they don't drive him nuts.
No, that's true. He seems not to. I mean, he seems to sort of float above it.
He does what he's going to do. He works on his own timetable. He never lets them rush him. Yeah. He's, I don't work on the 24-hour clock, he tells the media. Right. I don't work on the Republican clock with foreign affairs. I do it. Now, are there things that I would like for him to have done better, sooner, quicker, more? Yes, I would love it if his economic policy was more like Elizabeth Warren's.
Yeah, you like her.
Love her, absolutely. Wish she would run.
Yeah, but you wish she'd run against Hillary?
Oh yes, absolutely. She would be absolutely my preference above Hillary. But I understand that the president has so many things on his plate. He does seem to get to them. You know, I mean, gay marriage, he got to it. You know, pot, I'm hopeful he is going to get to that.
It's a good country, isn't
you know,
it?
the environment, he somehow is both the most accomplished president on the environment and still falls way short. But that's that kind of issue. It's that big.
And could, when you look at his, why do you think the popularity is so low, though? This is not just, it's in his own party.
Because people are dummies. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what
See
he's...
that, there you go, blaming the public. I mean,
I should blame the public. We all should. They are idiots. Look at the polling. Look at things they
public,
believe.
They're idiots?
Yeah, they're absolute idiots. They have no idea, like I said, they don't even know if they're liberal or conservative. They don't even know who controls the House.
Yeah, see, Bill Buckley was famous for this. Would you rather be judged by the first 100 names in the Boston phone book or the Harvard faculty?
The Harvard faculty.
Yeah. Buckley would always,
absolutely.
Buckley would always say, I'd rather be judged by the first 100 names in the Boston phone directory than the Harvard faculty.
Right, because Bill Buckley had nothing in common with the Harvard faculty, and so much in common with John Q. Public out there. What a lie.
Coming from landed gentry in Connecticut.
On his yacht, he's going to be judged by the 100 names, right?
That was just...
silly.
But back to you in terms of how have you evolved? What's been the evolution in your own politics? I mean, for example, you were very strong in terms of the threat of radical fundamentalist jihadism.
Still am.
I know.
Yes, I think liberals should stop booing me for pointing out that Islam is not like other religions, that is a unique threat, and that
but it's not Islam you're against. It's
all religions are stupid. They are.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt if you're really religious. It'd be very hard for me to believe that you actually believe in these intellectually embarrassing anachronisms from the Bronze Age. Do you really believe in the Bible,
I'm covering all my bets.
The Bible, which supports slavery, which is pro-polygamy, which believes a guy lived inside of a whale?
No. As you know from this program, I'm a devotee of science too.
Right. Okay. So I heard.
I want covering all bets.
I saw Howard Dean on TV the other day.
I did.
And he said something along the order of, he said, the people in ISIS are, I said, I'm about as Islamic as they are. You know, distancing the vast numbers of Islamic people around the world from it. That's just not true.
It is true.
It is not true, Charlie. There is a connecting tissue between...
you mean, behind every Muslim is a future member of some radical...
Let me finish.
I thought I was doing that.
There are illiberal beliefs that are held by vast numbers of Muslim people that I don't think...
Vast number of Christians, too.
No, that's not true. Not true. Vast numbers of Christians do not believe that if you leave the Christian religion, you should be killed for it. Vast numbers of Christians do not treat women as second-class citizens. Vast numbers of Christians
I agree with that.
do not believe that if you draw a picture of Jesus Christ, you should get killed for it. So yes, does ISIS do Khmer Rouge-like activities where they just kill people indiscriminately who aren't just like them? Yes, and would most Muslim people in the world do that or condone that? No. But most Muslim people in the world do condone violence just for what you think.
That?
They do. First of all, they say it. They shout it from the...
Vast majorities of Muslims
Absolutely.
say that?
There's a Pew poll of Egypt done a few years ago. 82%, I think it was, said stoning is the appropriate punishment for adultery. Over 80% thought death was the appropriate punishment for leaving the Muslim religion. I'm sure you know these things.
I know. Well, I do.
So to claim that this religion is like other religions is just naive and plain wrong. It is not like other religions. The New York Times pointed out in an op-ed a couple of weeks ago that in Saudi Arabia, just since August 4th, I think it was, they have beheaded 19 people. Most for non-violent crimes, including homosexuality.
Those that didn't got the hands off the thief.
Right. Okay. So we're upset that ISIS is beheading people, which we should be upset about. But Saudi Arabia does it, and they're our good friends because they have oil.
Right.
Okay? But they do it too. This is the center of the religion. I'm not saying...
They're now fighting against ISIS, too. They're joining us in the fight, as is the Emirates.
Well, they are both fighting ISIS,
and
they are for ISIS.
Well, not the government. I mean, some of the
certainly
private...
the government.
It's a bit like today about Qatar. It's a big story in the New York Times, which you may have seen today, about Qatar.
Yeah, but...
and there's some guy there is supporting, who's a Muslim in...
But, I mean, in Mecca, where infidels, non-Muslims, are not even allowed in the holy parts of the city. I mean, right there, we don't have that example in other religions. Okay, they do behead people. Now, if they were beheading people in Vatican City, which is the equivalent of Mecca, don't you think there'd be a bigger outcry about it? So this is the soft bigotry of low expectations that we have with Muslim people.
Yeah.
When they do crazy things and believe crazy things, somehow it's just not talked about nearly as much.
Would you come to this table and have a debate about this with a moderate Muslim?
Find one, yes. Find one.
I promise you, I'll find one.
Find a Muslim.
I do believe that what we see with ISIS is not representative of...
As I said, connecting tissue.
It's not representative of the Islamic religion. Again, I don't think the Quran teaches them to do this kind of thing.
Well, you're wrong about that. The Quran absolutely has on every page stuff that's horrible about how the infidel should be treated. But, for example, again, ISIS says that they should perform genital mutilation on all women 11 to 46. Right. Would most Muslims agree with that? No. Or carry it out? No. But as Ayaan Hirsi Ali points out, she says, can we really say... Well, and she would know better than either one of us. She said, can we really say that women are treated equally in the Muslim world? I mean, their testimony in court is very often counted as half. They need permission to leave the house in some places.
But a lot of moderate Muslims would say, in fact, one of the things that we need to modernize is the idea of the way we treat women. Lots of them. But
in this country, if you just use the wrong word about women, they go nuts. And in all these other countries, they're doing things like making them wear burqas, and I hear liberals say things like, well, they want to. They want to. They've been brainwashed. You know, they don't want... It's like saying a streetwalker wants to do that.
So let me just talk about this, because I find this interesting, too. You're doing something called Winning Loser, and you got Flip a District campaign.
Yes.
Take a look at this. Roll tape.
Now the moment you've all been waiting for as we reveal the last member of our Flip a District Final Four. Mike Kaufman, this is your political life. That's right, Mike is a deep red conservative trying to keep pace with a district that's turning purple and smoking green. He once said that Obama is just not an American. Wow, you'd have to be high to re-elect a guy like that. So here's the menu. Now it's up to you to order. Do you want John Klein, Blake Farenthold, Renee Elmers, or Mike Kaufman? Over the next month, let us know which of these bloated ticks on America's hide needs to be burnt off with the mighty cigarette of democracy. The winning loser will be revealed as soon as we return at our special Washington, D.C. edition on September 12th.
All right. That's so on September 12th, which was a couple of days from now.
That's right. Friday night, we reveal the big loser.
And so what happens if you are the big winning loser?
Well, then for the next couple of months until Election Day...
Bill Maher's going to be in your district.
I will be in that district, not every week, but I will be there a few times.
Stand up and the money you raise will support...
Well, it's not about money. I just want to shine a light on this one person and see if we can affect change in one district, and if we could change it in one place, maybe the idea will catch on. Because the situation we have now is just intolerable. How could we possibly have a Congress with a approval rating at 10% or sometimes lower, and yet over 90% of incumbents are returned? There is something terribly wrong with that. And of course, what's wrong with that is money, too much money in the system, and too much gerrymandering. And congressmen don't have to be good because their seats are almost always safe.
And you're choosing only those districts in which they're not safe seats, but districts in which there's a competitive race. Otherwise, you don't want to be spinning your wheel.
Right. Blake Farenthold, see, he's a good example of gerrymandering. He squeaked by the first time. Then they gerrymandered his district. A lot of the Latinos were moved out. Yeah. So now he's down in Corpus Christi. Last time he won by 18%. That's a little hard to do. Yeah. We still might pick him because I have to look at the polling when I get back to work.
And if this works, then you will be off and running to do maybe next general election you'll do in 2016.
Oh, I don't know. This is more about putting an idea out there. Right. I'm not looking to become a political operative. I'm a comedian who's a citizen as well, and if I feel strongly about something, I will. I don't feel bad about doing my citizenry right.
We've had 2 comedians die in the last month, Robin Williams and Joan Rivers.
Bad month for
It
comedians.
really is, because they were of their own. They were sui generis.
Let's hope it doesn't go in threes. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know either one of them well. I just knew them
But you
mostly
praised
from...
Robin for being on your show. I read what you said, as I did.
Yeah. I worked with both of them, and they just seemed like really good people. Robin, certainly, I think that was a shock, I think, to everybody, even his close friends didn't see that coming. And that's because he was such a nice guy. I think he didn't want to burden people with it. I mean, talk about a functioning depressive. Never late on the set, never threw a tantrum, never really let on what he was going through.
These are qualities of a depressive?
Well, I obviously...
Never be late, never...
Well, no, I'm just saying, if you are going through so much in your life that you would kill yourself, you'd think it might bleed a little bit into your professional life. Might be late for work one day. No, I mean, it came as a shock to everybody. Now, what I would like them to look into in the future is, I don't know what antidepressive drugs he was on, if any, but I'm guessing he was. And I think people need to look into that, because I think sometimes the drugs are what cause you to want to kill yourself. I mean, they say it right in the commercial. These may want to make you kill yourself. Mick Jagger's girlfriend also may have been on antidepressive drugs. I don't know this, but it seems odd to me that people who have this much going for them and could have this much help would take it to this degree. So I think we in general use way too many drugs, especially on children. We put children on drugs way earlier in life than they can handle, and then they have a brain that's looking for, as they get older, mood-altering substances, and we wonder why there's a drug problem.
But certainly the country's turning your way on marijuana.
It is about time, Charlie.
Faster than they went to same-sex marriage. In terms of the velocity as it's...
Well, because same-sex marriage, there will always be a hardcore against that, because it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. It's a religious country, and so...
You mean in the Christian Bible?
More in, of course, the Old Testament.
Yes.
But marijuana is actually a uniter of an issue, because hippies smoke pot and hillbillies smoke pot. You'll find it on Willie Nelson's...
You've been on his bus?
Willie Nelson's country tour bus, and you'll find it on Snoop Dogg's bus. So it's sort of the ultimate purple issue, I think, marijuana, and I think people just understand after all this time. It is the least harmful of all the drugs you could use. It is so much more benign than alcohol, which obviously causes so much destruction, and that's legal. So
it may even be good medicinally.
Oh, it's definitely good medicinally. Yeah. For whatever I have, it's worked great.
Are you in good health?
Yeah, so far?
No depression, nothing?
No. Not all comedians are like that. I've read a lot about how we're all, crying on the inside.
As an idea, that's not true, you think?
I don't know if
the majority of people who are good at what you do, they didn't come from some terribly unhappy place.
Comedians, I think, are generally like everybody else. There are ones who would fit that description and ones who don't. Maybe in the comedy world it's more prevalent to have people who have craziness in their head, because, come on, look what we're doing for a living. But I also know lots of people. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld is on our show Friday night from Washington. He's about as sane, as solid as person as I know.
What do you think of Stephen Colbert going to the...
I don't know what he's like
Letterman.
Without the character. I don't know what he's like as himself. I don't think many people do.
Good to see you.
You too, Charlie. Thanks.
Bill Maher will be in Washington, D.C. I don't have it, but tell us what you're going to be in
September 12th.
September 12th.
Live show, and then running across literally to another theater to do a live stand-up special. It's a kind of a stunt, kind of a dare, and I wish I hadn't said I was going to do it, but now I have to go through with it. It's going to be
There you go.
I better take my ginseng.
You should. Thank you for joining us.